welcome. This is the Market Wrap on BloombergQuint Live. Let's take a look at how the session has panned out today and what we have seen in terms of the course of the week. It's been an extremely volatile week. We have seen significant changes on the benchmark indices, and specifically today has been a historical day of sorts. But if you just consider the way things have panned out, after hitting a lower circuit on an intraday basis of as much as 10%, well, we have actually seen the Nifty recover and eventually close with gains of 3.8%, as you can see here. We have seen significant gains in State Bank of India, Tata Steel, HDFC and BPCL, and a lot more weakness in UPL, Zee Entertainment, Nestle India and Asian Paints. What about your broader markets? How have things panned out there? And if you consider the broader markets, we do have significant gains in Vodafone Idea. This is largely to do with some, easing of pressure when it comes to AGR dues, and that's the reason why we have seen Vodafone Idea advance. SAIL, Welspun India, Midhani, and Bank of Baroda also among those stocks which did gain today. On the losing end, we have weakness in Future Retail, Varroc Engineering, GET&D, SpiceJet, and Soba, among many others. Now, this is as far as today is concerned. Let's take a look at what's happened through the course of the week. We have seen a drop of 9.5%, and had it not been for today's recovery, this number would have been a lot bigger in terms of losses. Yes Bank is the only one showing a recovery around 58%, and there are only two stocks which have eventually closed the week with gains at all, for that matter. Bharti Infratel is the other one, advancing by around 11%. But significant weakness in ONGC, Vedanta, GAIL, Tata Motors. So, there have been losses across the banking sector, the commodity sector, as well as, the metal sector, essentially leading to, a lot of losses coming through. What about the broader markets? And the NSE 500, once again, also losing out as much as 10%. We do have the likes of Vodafone Idea, Yes Bank, and Lakshmi Vilas Bank advancing, but on the losing end, once again, usual suspects like Future Retail, Welspun Corp, Indiabulls Housing Finance, and Varroc Engineering. Now, this is how things have panned out today and what markets have done through the course of the week. Let's talk about a handful of events that were also lined up and that was possibly moved the markets. Of course, on Sunday, the Enforcement Directorate arrested Yes Bank founder Rana Kapoor on money laundering charges. Again, on Monday, bondholders with exposure to Yes Bank's additional Tier 1 securities filed petitions in the Bombay High Court against the decision to write off their investments as a part of the plan to rescue the bank. On Wednesday, the UK Finance Minister Rishi Sunak pledged a $39 billion stimulus package as he seeks to prepare the British economy to fight the potentially devastating impact of coronavirus. The Bank of England cut benchmark rates by 50 basis points to 0.25% a week after the Federal Reserve. And of course, Jet Airways also failed to find any takers after 3 rounds of bidding conducted by State Bank of India-led committee of creditors. On Thursday, retail inflation eased for the first time in 7 months as prices of vegetables rose at a slower pace. The consumer price inflation stood at 6.6% in February compared to 7.6% in January. The State Bank of India approved an investment of 7,250 crores in Yes Bank with the purchase of 725 crore equity shares of Yes Bank at a price of 10 rupees apiece. And India reported the first death caused by coronavirus of a 76-year-old man in Karnataka's Kalaburgi. Of course, that's some of those events that have actually moved the markets through the course of the week. But let's also take a look at how things have changed with respect to the futures and options space. From well above the levels of 10,500 even, and possibly 11,000, we have now come to Nifty trading around and slightly below the 10,000 mark. That really leaves a lot to be, there are a lot of guesses as to where we're going, which is why we're looking at such a broad range at this point in time between 9,500, that is where we have a lot of accumulation in puts, and 10,500 on the higher end. Even though the 10,000 call is the one with the maximum open interest, it's a very broad range. It's a 1,000-point range. It's not always that we see a 1,000-point range on the Nifty, especially given we're well away from expiry. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on the levels, and this range will eventually narrow as we move into the next few weeks. But for now, we are staring at a rather broad 1,000-point range on the Nifty. Let's move on and talk about a handful of events that are lined up this upcoming week as well. And what we have finally, let's see. Of course, we're going to have the GST Council, which will hold its 39th meet, which will be tomorrow, and we'll also have Yes Bank, which will post its quarterly results for the third quarter of FY20. The results of which were, of course, postponed for, many reasons that we've already spoken about. And on Monday, March 16, the State Bank of India's subsidiaries, SBI Cards, will be listed on the exchanges. And, of course, allocations have already been made. And on Wednesday, the Federal Open Market Committee will take decision on lending rates in the U.S. And they will also release a statement of economic projections. And in this case, this statement will be very important to see as to what the Federal Reserve makes and thinks of the U.S. markets at this point in time, considering the impact of the coronavirus. Of course, that's one of the more important things that you can watch out for with respect to global economy. But even in Indian markets, we are keeping an eye, a very close one, on the levels and how things eventually do pan out. We have seen the India Volatility Index rise substantially. Even though we have seen a little bit of a come-off today, it's still well above the mark of 40, and that remains a concern for Indian markets. Well, on that note, it's a wrap on the markets, but there's lots more lined up. Stay tuned to BloombergQuint.